Church. Before I get started for the occasion of why we're here today, I just want to thank Colonel Retired Joe Weaver for inviting me and Reverend Slayton for having us today. It's an honor for my family to be here. Thank you guys. So on the 11th day of the 11th hour of the 11th month, we ended World War I. In 1938, we decided to celebrate all those that served, calling it Armistice Day. We now reverence that day as Veterans Day. And you ask yourself, why on the Holy Sunday are we celebrating Veterans Day? And as I thought about this occasion, I said, well, why wouldn't we? Selfless service is something that we all do so immediately. And I know someone who gave that ultimate sacrifice that we may be here today. And as I think about every service member who decided that I will do my duty, I will selflessly serve, and I can call myself a veteran, also decided that one day they would write a check to the United States of America, a blank check at that, and some paid that price even with their lives. I know a friend who also did that for me. And as we think about the occasion today, I think about the fact that every service member, every Army soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardman, and Marine start their commitment in the service with the first words they say. They state their name and they say, I solemnly swear. And who are we swearing to? They say that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. They start that obligation with an I swear. Every promotion, every oath of enlistment, every oath of an officer that takes their first steps into joining the military, they start with I swear. They go on to say all of their affirmations, the things they will do to protect and defend this country. And the most important thing they do is they end that oath of affirmation with, so help me God. They raise their hand and proudly and boldly proclaim, I will do my duty, so help me God. So when I think about the occasion of Veterans Day and why we're here today, it's because I knew a healer in the sick room when that soldier needed someone. I knew a provider when we were deployed and away from our families. I knew a way maker who saw our way through. So why do we celebrate Veterans Day on a Sunday like this? It's because of the sacrifice we all made. So for every member who has ever served, for every family member who has served with us, for every mother who has prayed earnestly for us, for every church, deaconess, deacon, reverend, pastor, who said thank you for your service and took time on a Sunday to reverence us, I thank you. Because it's always about selfless service, regardless of when you serve or how you serve. And I thank you for having us today, and I salute you.
Continue with our service, I have the privilege and the honor to introduce our guest preacher, speaker for this morning. Before I begin that, I just want you to know, out of 325 million people on this planet, only 1.2 million serve in the armed forces. And when you think about that percentage of lieutenant colonel to general, that small percentage of promotion is very unique and rare, and we are blessed, I say blessed, to have these two outstanding women in our service, in our midst this morning. Brigadier General Janeen Birckhead served as the commander of the Maryland Army National Guard and is dual-headed as the Deputy Commandant for Reserve Affairs at the U.S. Army War College. She was commissioned as a distinguished military graduate through the Reserve Officer Training Corps at Hampton University, earning a bachelor's degree in political science. She holds a master's in management from the University of Maryland. Her military education includes the Chemical Officer Basic Course, the Adjutant General Officer Advanced Course, the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College, and the U.S. Army War College, where she earned a master's in strategic studies. Brigadier General Birckhead's military decorations include the Legion of Merit, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Air Force Foundation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Army Reserve Components Achievement Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal, the NATO Medal, Overseas Ribbon, Army Reserve Components Overseas Trade Ribbon, and Afghanistan Campaign Medal. In her civilian capacity, General Birckhead is a senior advisor at the Bureau of Trust Funds Administration, Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs in the U.S. Department of the Interior, Washington, D.C., and she began her civilian career in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Senate. Her subsequent civilian career positions include State Equal Opportunity Operations Manager, Special Agent in Charge for the Defense Security Service, and Deputy Chief of Equal Opportunity and Civil Rights at the Office of Personal Management, joining the Bureau of Indian Affairs as the Director of Civil Rights and Equal Employment Opportunity for the U.S. Department of the Interior in 2010. We are blessed. And without further ado, after our song Waymaker, we will hear the voice of Brigadier General Janeen L. Birckhead.
Good morning, church. First, giving honor to God, I'm blessed to take part in today's celebration of patriotism and service. And I offer my thanks to Reverend Slayton. Thank you for planning and organizing this event, and special thanks to the Colonel over here. Thank you so much for organizing this. Joy has heard from me probably once a day, every day for the last couple of days. And oh yes, Randy Juice, Brenda, thank you. See you back there, appreciate you. And special thanks to Major Morgan Lieutenant Colonel Morgan. I worked with her as Major Morgan for all her support and building cadets, building the future of the organization and the Army. And so thank you for honoring Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all those veterans out there. So this morning I will share some of my personal story and thoughts on service and patriotism. These thoughts are mine and are attributable to the Department of Defense or the federal government. A little bit about how I got started in my military career. My mother, the Honorable Fannie W. Birckhead, aka Mommy, as we officially know her or knew her, would be my challenge to join the Army. So in high school she said, Janeen, you need to go after that ROTC scholarship. I'm like, no, Mommy, I'm not going to do that. I want to join the Army. She's like, she kind of challenged me. She knew I would take her up on the challenge. So I went forward with it, did the interview, lo and behold, got the scholarship. Now what am I going to do, right? So, of course, I took it. And that began that unique challenge and that unique service to country. And I'll revisit Mommy later on in my remarks. But once I was selected for the scholarship, it was hard to turn down, and I was on my way to Hampton University, the real HU. So, I've committed my life to continue the legacy of service and am deeply touched by your congregation for prioritizing today's event and investing in military service and the recognition of veterans. My early career was shaped by those cadets and this cadre at Hampton University, making me the best that I could be, and I absolutely treasure that experience. When I think about the Hampton experience, I will tell you that that experience solidified my confidence in myself and my ability to lead. So picture this, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Any of y'all been down to Fort Bragg? So I'm at camp, and camp is where they assess you and determine where you're going to go and what you're going to do when you grow up in the Army. So I've been there, I've already done a long-range patrol, walked a few clicks during this day, at least a good 15 miles, clicks mean a kilometer. So when I get back to the camp, the cadre, they walk over to the person who was in the lead, and they say, you're dead, she's in charge. Oh no, this is not going to be a good day. Night begins to fall, begins to rain. Okay, I see what's going to happen here. So I received the mission, bring in my radio guy, bring in my point person. I've got my map all laid out. It's in a plastic bag so it won't get wet. Go ahead and map my course, and off we go. So what we do when we're doing this is movement to contact, and they're evaluating you on how you respond to these aggressors attacking you along the way. So I'm moving out, it's going pretty well, but you can see what's happening. It's dark, it's raining. We go off the course that my point person has set to respond to these aggressors, and we have to get back on track. So finally, we get to where we're going, and the person says, we get to a point, and the lead says, stop, bring it in. Poncho riders go up, because it's raining, remember, it's dark, and we're supposed to be in an environment where we're not supposed to shine your lights, so we bring it in, we bring on the flashlights, and he's like, where are you, cadet, where are you? We're right here, sir, with all I can muster. And you know what? He was right, I was shot, the crowd was wild. It was, the best thing for my confidence. And after that, you know what I said? I can do anything. Yes, I can, as the Apostle Paul wrote from the prison. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So the thing that I wanted to do was to continue to serve after that. And today we remember and honor the selfless service of those who served overseas. And those who have served here over the last how many years with the devastating things we had going on in our country. Their selfless service hope and healing. There was a risk of loss, fear, mistrust, and uncertainty, but we didn't waver. The operations that we've been involved in has shaped the character of soldiers and veterans alike, and the next generation of Americans. So, Malikah talked about the Veterans Day and its roots, 1917 Armistice Agreement, and after World War I, the 11th day of the 11th hour of the 11th month. How perfect is that? So we call that the war to end all wars, but how naive were we? I'm proud of the company I keep, veterans today, tomorrow, present, future, who I've worked with for 20 plus years, we'll keep it at that. I hope you will understand when I take this opportunity to honor some of the National Guard and our operations that we've been running recently in the face of uncertainty. Their story is a veteran story, and their story is a story of service, and their story is my story. So Marcus Luttrell, aka the lone survivor, he was the only survivor after an Afghan mission in 2005, and he has said, there are a lot of things in life that matter, but none matter more than who we decide to serve. And another well-known quote, not attributed to anyone, the action is what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Less than 23% can serve, Americans can serve, and less than 1% choose to serve. Those who raise their right hand and take an oath will learn about the warrior ethos. And what is that? The warrior ethos is a set of principles that each service member agrees to live by. And it's rooted in respect for service. The warrior ethos is founded in the premise that we serve our nation honorably and responsibly. The Army is the soldier's creed. I serve the United States and I guard the American way of life. The Air Force creed, I am an American airman, guardian of freedom and justice, my nation's sword, shield, sentry, and avenger. I have answered my nation's call. Call what? Call to service. The Navy, the United States Marine Corps, Navy and Marine Corps personnel proclaim, I proudly serve my country with honor, courage, and commitment. And the Coast Guard, I am a Coast Guardsman. I serve, protect, defend the people of the United States. The warrior ethos contained within the creeds of our service components represent the professional attitude and the belief that characterizes American service. They reflect selfless commitment to service our citizens, regardless of race, creed, gender, national origin, station, and life. The warrior ethos was displayed in Maryland during COVID operations and in Washington, D.C. as examples. The last 3 years have been really rough for everyone. It is marked by unprecedented historical response from the National Guard. I am proud to be one of those. The members of the National Guard have supported every combat commander around the globe and met every governor's request for assistance here at home, despite pandemic, record wildfires, and Navy storms. These years are the highest levels that the National Guard has served since World War II. And as I speak, there are 20,000+ soldiers overseas standing post today. During this period, Maryland deployed a military intelligence expeditionary brigade to Djibouti. And when we deploy, we wear on our service uniform the flag, the U.S. flag. So enemies and foreigners alike know our priorities and values. We send over highly trained analysts who advise and forecast. There are a wide range of specialties, and it's a demanding mission. So here at home, though, while that was going on, the National Guard soldiers and airmen logged more than 21 million days serving the community in 2021. In Maryland during COVID response, I served in dual roles as a commander of the Maryland Army National Guard, but also as a task force, vaccine equity task force. So let me go back to the beginning. If you recall, in February 2020, Washington State realized that there was a strange virus in our community. And it was not a one-off. It moved through a nursing home. And first, as you know, many of us did, we were in denial. We thought this is a West Coast thing.
This is a nursing home thing. This is for the old and the sick and the shut in. It's not about me, I'm not going to be affected. Then surprise set in, and shock and awe, as the virus rapidly spread through pockets throughout the nation. Our leaders, government and businesses and the schools all weighed safety or money in school. What do we do? So the Maryland National Guard was there. For COVID-19, in the face of fear for our loved ones, in the face of uncertainty, in the face of food instability in our communities right here in Maryland, in the face of hospitals not being able to function and nursing homes closing, and vaccine, people questioning whether it works or its efficacy. It was a difficult time for all of us. The citizen soldiers of Maryland, they brought tangible help, restored hope, and they inspired others to serve. So here's just a few of our actions. We stepped up to deliver over 1 million meals right here in Maryland, 1 million meals. We delivered over 60 million pieces of personal protective equipment. We assessed hundreds of nursing homes and hospitals with the Department of Health. We provided thousands and thousands of COVID-19 tests. We distributed thousands and thousands of vaccine. We stood up mass vac sites. We supported state and local authorities. They hit the road running with mobile vaccination support teams. They worked with local health departments to close the gap to serve vulnerable, underserved communities. And right here in Morgan, we set up vaccine equity clinics. They came to the aid of citizenry, everyone, rich, poor, healthy, unhealthy, you name it. I'm so proud of them. But wait, there's more. So as we turn the calendar, COVID response efforts continued, but then January 6th happened. Protests, riots, there was a new mission. The stakes were raised. I received a call summoning me to DC to lead as the commander of Task Force Capital. I was charged to command over 16,000 National Guard soldiers and airmen from across the country. That's a division size limit. So, as the weeks followed and the security breach happened, we were able to serve and ensure the peaceful transfer of power during that 59th presidential inauguration. And I will tell you that the seriousness and the gravity of that mission was not lost on any soldier or airman that stood the line. My Sergeant Major and I walked the line every night to tell soldiers and airmen that it was going to be okay. Now, can you imagine your first experience in Washington, D.C. is protecting the nation's capital? Can you imagine? So we did our best to assure them and then bring hope and healing and tell them, because we're lucky to be in the DMV, about how beautiful that capital is and what happens there. So, not my words, but I'll quote Governor Hogan. Our institutions have held firm in the place of this attempted insurrection. But we remain at a very fragile moment, and each of us has a choice to make. We can either descend further into chaos, or we can rise above and test with real courage and patriotism. I was proud to serve with that role of my fellow guardsmen as I watched the peaceful transfer of power from the command center on Capitol Hill. I think I held my breath, I know I did, for that entire morning. I was praying, and just thinking about what could happen and what didn't happen. In the following days, I was met with many challenges. The fact is that in the hostilities, they did not flare, in large part due to the professionalism, calming professionalism of the soldiers and sailors and airmen that stood guard. They were the sentries to our democracy and our institutions. So before the Task Force Capital mission ended, Governor Hogan came to visit me in DC, and he says, lo and behold, I've got another mission for you, John Birckhead. Okay, what is it, sir? It's the Vaccinating Task Force, aka VETA. So we were relieved from our post on 28 January, and the Maryland National Guard returned to COVID-19 operations. During COVID-19 response 2, we focused on getting the vaccine out. That's when we stood up the actual vaccine clinics across the state. Through these unsettling weeks and months of the pandemic, the citizen soldiers of Maryland, served with presence. They reminded us of how confident we should be in the future. In the face of this crisis at home, their work in caring and decisiveness helped safety and recovery. We knew we are from the community and we are of the community. Every guard member brings to their job their own family values and their own community values, we know that. But in the faithful year of 20 and 2021, we saw the values tested and the values prevailed. Our Maryland Guardsmen and women, three very different missions, requiring smart, efficient planning, empathetic engagement, and understanding our fellow citizens. These soldiers, moms, dads, brothers, aunts, aunts, uncles, will never be the same. They are changed by the experience, and so am I. We rose to the challenge and adapted to the realities. And we talk about making a way. That was a real way. First is a challenge in a way that I would be here today as a one-star general. And then to be the task force capital commander, that's a way. So, we represent the triumph of human spirit in the face of adversity, and we just demonstrated to be an inspiration to those in our communities and others. And in case you didn't know or want to consider raising your right hand, let me just get a plug in. We are medical professionals, intelligence professionals, analysts, truck drivers, logisticians, maintenance specialists, military police, engineers, planners, and leaders, if you know someone. Those who join the ranks of our service components do so for a number of reasons, some for college benefits, and some raise their hand for health care. Others might just want to steady income. Irrespective of why they join, I'm encouraged by them. They never lose sight of service. Service is what we do, and more important, being a servant is who we are. And of greater significance, it is mandated and pleasing by God. 2 Philippians verse 3-5 says, "Don't be selfish, think of others. Don't look out only for your own interest, but take interest in that of others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had." Romans 15 verses 2-3 says, "We must not just please ourselves, but we should help others and build them up. Even Christ did not live to please himself." The author of the book of Romans is not dismissive of the idea that individuals look out for themselves. You have to do that. They would be foolish not to. How can we be a blessing to others, though, if we do not ensure our own well-being? But notice the four-letter word, just. Not just please ourselves, but in contrast to that, we must help others. Then Paul states why, for even Christ did not live to please himself. The example of heart excellence, the supreme example to service, is none other than the Lord himself. Jesus, the sovereign and the universe, said, "I came not to serve, but to serve others." Mark 10. What do we learn from all these closing examples? The greatest among us are servants. I'll now return to my mom for a minute, and I will share a personal story. One of hope and healing, and a reason that I continue to serve. She's a true servant. My mother was killed in a fire in her yard in February. And unfortunately or unfortunately, my daughter Lindsay, who was a freshman in Howard, was there and tried to save her. Through Mommy, though, my journey to service began, as I told you. She supported me in my community service, and she supported her community as a resident, regardless of race, religion, gender, sex, creed, national origin. Mommy was the first African-American woman to serve as mayor on the Eastern Shore of Maryland in the town of Sligo. She would go on to Worcester County Judge Wolfen's Court, making her the first African-American judge to be elected countywide. She became interested in running for office when she worked as a poll watcher and named as the Board of Election Supervisors. After the formation of the Western District, two friends approached her and asked her to run for a seat, and she did. She said, "To serve and she did just that, resulting in 6 terms on the council. Mommy served on the Slayton Town Council for 12 years, and during her time in office, she sought to improve her town. She was instrumental in building new affordable housing. In an interview during her 5th term, she said, "I have a vested interest in what goes on here," and added that the members of the council work together tirelessly, even though they disagree at times. Notably, in 1994, and early on in her political career, Mommy was a plaintiff in a trial challenging the racial fairness of the Worcester County electoral system. In the U.S. District Court, the American Civil Liberties Union and the National Association of Advancing Colored People sued Worcester County to challenge their large election system. The NAACP and the ACU alleged the system for electing members of the board violated Section 6 of the Voting Rights Act. The federal court would strike down Maryland's system for electing state legislators on the Eastern Shore. The lawsuit was filed as part of a larger lawsuit against Maryland's entire redistricting plan, and the suit would go on to trial where it would prevail. Mommy was a community activist who believed strongly in helping people. Mommy served as the chair of Shore Up League, the board of directors, longer than any other board of director in that agency's 36-year history. Shore Up is an acronym for self-help on rural, economic, and urban issues. Noteworthy is their work in Head Start to improve education. Ms. Birckhead served on a myriad of civic and community organizations. She's a life member of the NAACP, the ACLU, Sonoma Citizens for Decent Housing, Worcester County Alcohol and Drug Task Force, Voters' Right Coalition, Treasurer of Household Ruth, Eastern Star, in addition to being a breast cancer survivor, and a member of the Ebenezer United Methodist Church in Sonoma. Mommy was out without question a servant. So knowing her story, coming from poverty, getting to be the first among first looms really large in my story. A larger-than-life figure who was able to instill and pass those qualities on to her kids and instill hope and inspiration onto the next generation behind her. In closing, it is so important to tell stories of our servants, of our veterans, of these citizen soldiers. In the face of adversity, they showed triumph in the human spirit. They just demonstrated that we can make a difference in the lives of others. They demonstrated that those who step forward will become a beacon of hope and inspiration. There's no movie about Mommy or the Maryland National Guard yet. So until there is, I'm proud to tell their story. Thank you for letting me share a little bit about me and my service. Happy Veterans Day.
Well, thank God for our speaker today. I was sharing with her, one of my dear friends in the legislature when I was a lobbyist was the first African American elected to the Eastern Shore by name Brigadier. And historically, the Black Caucus picked the chair based on Baltimore sitting one term, Prince George's the next, and it went back and forth. So Rudy was from the Eastern Shore. No Baltimore, no Prince George's. But Rudy wanted to be the chair. He was going against Tiger Davis, big military guy. I shouldn't have gotten involved, but I like to stick my nose in the stuff. And so I started working with Rudy King. He said, I want you to meet somebody. And it was her mother. And he said, she's a kick ass. She said, I want you to meet her. She doesn't play. And I remember they were kindred spirits. They did not play. And so as you were saying that gave me hope. On January 6th, I said they did a black woman up there and tell them to sit their butts down. And I'm so glad people there with the government called on me. What a great message. I'm totally inspired. I'm supposed to open the doors of the church.
18th Army Band in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. He is talented. He is a man of God, as you all know, who served the Northwood family faithfully, and his dedication to music and his family are a living testimony of his stewardship to God and country. So many thanks to her aide Paul. In the Navy in July of 1969. He was honorably discharged on November 30, 1971. He was assigned to the USS Puget Sound, AD-38 flagship, North Atlantic Destroyer Force. He began as a storekeeper, then assigned to the CIC, where he commenced training as a microfilm decoder technician. He was also selected to become the liaison officer to the Minority Affairs officer. He facilitated various seminars on race relations aboard ship to graduating OCS officers. Talk about diversity training back in the day. Huh? He was also instrumental, along with Admiral Zumwa, in the implementation of the Afro haircut and the length of sideburns and beard specifications. So here. Randy Jews, if you would please stand. In the United States Army, he completed basic training at Fort Gordon, Georgia, advanced training at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in the fire control system for the M60 tank. He was shipped to Schweinfurt, Germany with the 2nd 64th Armor and spent 2 years at Conn Barracks and was promoted to Specialist 4th Class. He played basketball on the team for 2 years. He was transferred back to Aberdeen Proving Grounds for covert gunship, electronic control for minigun and rocket pod systems. He was promoted to Specialist 5 and later received a field grade promotion to Sergeant E5. He would rank to supervise a system showpin in phobia Camp Eagle. He received a Bronze Star. Including the Army Combination Medal and the Vietnam Campaign Medal with 60 device. Jack Brown is not here, but he is the husband of our own Edith Brown and our choir. He was drafted out of high school in 1951. He completed basic training in Maryland and enlisted in the Navy. He was hand-selected to serve on 2 attack-level submarines during the Korean War, USS Senate, and completed 3,000 dives. And then 14 April 1952, the USS Davis, and 9 August through 30 January 1955. He advanced in rank from 3rd class to 2nd class assignments, including patrolling the outskirts of the state of Maryland. He encountered a Russian submarine in the state of New Hampshire, and he remained in New Hampshire until the enemy sub departed, and he was discharged from the Navy in 1955. That picture doesn't do Jack justice. You know he has the one on the sub where he's standing nice and proud. So I'll show that next year. And then yours truly, and I'm not going to bore you with my stuff. I was commissioned in 1989. I served at Walter Reed in various hospitals throughout the United States and Oconus, and deployed with the 28th Combat Support Hospital in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and treated numerous burn patients there, over 1,000 to be exact. And I finished at Walter Reed as Assistant Director of Nursing. I currently serve at the pleasure of Colonel Maker and Colonel Pakwasili and Richardson and Colonel Ajipong as a Deputy Director for Quality at Fort Reed. So glad to be here, proud to work more than uniform, proud to serve, continue to serve